These manuals and this video do not supersede any standard operating procedures that may be in place at your company. Consult with an expert when troubleshooting and to otherwise ensure that you're using the products and safeguards that are appropriate for you and the application at hand. If you'd like more information after this video, please contact your local Cooper Power Systems representative or visit us at www.cooperpower.com. This shows the installation of a 15 kV 200 amp load brake elbow with optional integral jacket seal on a typical concentric neutral underground distribution cable. This video shows the installation of a 15 kV elbow. Installations of 15, 25, and 35 kV elbows with and without the integral jacket seal are similar. The elbow kit includes the elbow with integral jacket seal, copper top crimp connector, probe, wrench, silicone grease, and installation instructions. Also included, mastic tape for the integral jacket seal. Check the cable to be certain the elbow range and crimp connector are correct for the cable. Specialized cable preparation tools are used. These include a tool for removing the cable jacket and insulation shield, the cable insulation removal tool, the insulation chamfering tool, and the probe installation torque tool. Also needed are a ruler, wire brush, pliers, marking pin, hacksaw, and crimp tool. On elbows with the integral jacket seal, PVC tape is also required. And of course, the entire procedure is performed on equipment and cable that you know to be de-energized. The first task is to train the cable, making sure there are no bends. You'll want it lined up with the bushing and the adjacent parking pocket to allow proper operation. Mark the cable at least 3 inches above the center of the bushing insert. Mark the cable 1 inch below the center of the bushing. Next, mark the cable again, 8 1/2 inches below your first mark. Then remove the cable jacket to the bottom mark. Peel back the insulation. Unwind the neutral wires, bend them down, and secure them temporarily. Measure 1 inch from the center line of the bushing insert. Cut the cable using a hacksaw to make a straight cut. Do not use a cable cutter, which usually just can't make a straight flat cut across the cable. Ensure that 8 to 8.5 inches of the insulation shield is exposed. Now measure 2 1/8 inches from the end of the cable. Place the insulation removal tool onto the cable end and adjust the depth of the cut so that it removes all of the insulation without nicking the conductor. Once the depth is adjusted properly, proceed with insulation removal. Upon reaching the 2 1/8 inch measurement, change the tool setting from spiral cut to square cut. Finish cutting and remove the tool. Now remove the insulation. When you do this, be sure the cut is straight, perpendicular to the cable, and that no jagged edges exist. Recheck the dimensions to ensure that 2 1/8 inches of the cable insulation were removed. Use a wire brush to clean the exposed conductor. And immediately after, install the copper top crimp connector using a twisting motion to distribute the antioxidant. Make sure the flat face of the crimp connector is parallel to the face of the bushing insert. Crimp the connector using the proper size tool as shown in the supplied crimp chart. Start the first crimp just below the knurl at the top of the crimp barrel. Rotate the tool 90 degrees for each successive crimp. Place the number of crimps as shown in the crimp chart. Be careful not to overlap the crimps. After crimping, remove any excess antioxidant with a lint-free cloth. It's important that the antioxidant not contaminate the cable. Make sure you remove any sharp edges on the connector after crimping. Now, measure 6 7/8 inches from the top of the crimp connector. Practice setting the depth of cut on the insulation removal tool using a scrap piece of cable. Do a trial insulation shield removal on the piece of scrap. Verify there are no score marks on the insulation. Witness lines are allowable. Then, back at the actual installation, set the tool to square cut and install on the cable at the 6 7/8 inch mark. Tighten the tool on the cable. Rotate the tool one complete turn to score the cable, and then set the tool to spiral cut and continue turning. Then remove the tool. Now, using a pair of pliers, slowly and carefully remove the insulation shield. Be sure the end of the cut is straight, perpendicular to the cable. Take care that the insulation is not nicked. Spiral witness lines from the tool are normal. Small nicks in the insulation may be sanded, but any nicks in the insulation at the end of the insulation shield cannot be repaired. Next, put a 1/8 inch chamfer on the end of the insulation. This chamfer reduces the installation force. Now, bend the shield wires out. Then clean the cable jacket using a lint-free cloth. Apply the first supplied mastic strip around the cable jacket, about 1/2 inch below the point where the jacket is removed. Do not stretch the mastic when installing. That's very important. Now, bend the concentric neutral strands back as tightly as possible against the cable, forming as small a radius as possible, and press the neutral wires into the mastic strip. Apply a second layer of mastic over the neutrals directly on top of the first layers. Now remember again, do not stretch the mastic when installing, but press tightly to fill in any voids. Apply a third layer of mastic, centering it on the transition point of the stripped back jacket and the insulation shield. Press it tightly into place, and again, don't stretch the mastic when you're installing it. Now, wrap the cable and the mastic with 1/2 layer of vinyl electrical tape. The tape should extend from just above the third mastic applied at the transition point to just below the first and second mastic onto a portion of the jacket still in place. Note, a minimum of 3/4 inch of the semiconductor insulation shield should remain uncovered. Elbow and load break probe installation. Next, clean insulation with a customer-supplied lint-free cloth saturated with cleaning solution. Do not apply the cleaning solution directly to the cable. Start at the top and wipe away from the crimp connector and not touch the black insulating shield. Apply a thin, evenly distributed layer of the supplied silicone grease over the cable insulation and approximately 1/2 inch of the cable insulation shield. Apply a thin, evenly distributed layer of the supplied silicone grease as far as you can reach inside the elbow cable entrance. Now, push the elbow onto the cable. A slight twisting motion will help. Install the elbow until the hole in the copper top of the crimp connector is visible and straight. The threaded opening must be in line with the elbow opening to allow installation of the probe. The next step is the probe installation. To avoid cross-threading, thread the probe into the copper top connector by hand until tight. Use the supplied probe wrench to tighten. Continue tightening until the probe wrench takes a permanent set. The wrench is designed to bend at the correct torque. Next, we'll complete the installation of the IJS, the integral jacket seal. First, apply a thin layer of silicone grease over the PVC. Then pull the integral jacket seal down as far as it will go. Next, attach one of the wires to the grounding tab on the elbow. Then twist the remaining concentric neutral wires in preparation for connection to the system ground. Remove the shipping cap from the bushing insert. Clean the insert interface using a lint-free cloth. Apply a thin, evenly distributed layer of silicone grease to the interface, including the shoulder. Then apply a thin, evenly distributed layer of silicone grease to the inside of the elbow and the cuff. Now, position the elbow by hand. The final step is to install the elbow onto the bushing insert using a hot stick. Push the elbow slowly until resistance is felt. Finish installing the elbow with a rapid motion. When the elbow is fully latched, the yellow latch indicator ring should be completely covered. Tug on the hot stick to be certain it is fully latched. If the yellow latch indicator ring is visible, the elbow isn't latched, so a slight tug on the hot stick will pull the elbow off. If that happens, repeat the procedure. Again, when the elbow is fully latched, the yellow latch indicator is not visible. A tug on the hot stick confirms that it is fully latched. This completes the installation of the load brake elbow.